Thank you, Mrs. Yeah, so praise y'all for the throwbacks, right? You know, but we're not going to do a throwback. We're going to consider an imperative semantic. And then the imperative semantic is the name Yahudah.
We were just talking about that.
Really?
Yeah.
We were discussing before you got.
Are you serious?
Are you serious?
See, y'all didn't know
Oh, we did not know.
what y'all knew.
We're
See,
not-
what y'all knows are.
Yeah.
So this is evidence that y'all knows all. Amen.
Hallelujah.
This is a witness that I wasn't just doing my thing, that I was doing y'all's thing.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
All right. So yeah, we're gonna get into this Yahudah. I've been wanting to do this actually for a while, and it was meant to be like a new month message or Pentecost message, but Pentecost always have their own theme, you know, so didn't get opportunity there. And then I started the numerical lessons for the new month. So yeah, y'all had me do it today. Now, I probably will do it again later on and further detail it, you know, nevertheless, it's here, it's going down. Let's jump into it. Yahudah. Now, first of all, I want you to know that Yahudah comes from the root Yadah. All right? The first occurrence of it is in Genesis 29:35, from which the name came from Yahudah's mom. Of course, Yahudah is a proper noun. It is a name of one of the tribes of Israel. It was the name of, you know, one of the 12 sons of Israel. It says in Genesis 29:35, and she conceived. She is speaking of Leah, right? For those of you all who know your scripture, you know, and she conceived again and bore a son, and she said, "Now will I praise Yahuwah." Therefore, she called his name Yahudah. You know. Okay, so let's take a little closer look at what's being presented here in Genesis 29:35. When we do, we find that this word praise is actually Yadah, number 3034. Literally meaning to hold out the hand, physically to throw the hand or a stone or an arrow. Also speaking to the moan, you know, that is to express grief or distress, you know, and to make confession or to praise. Okay. Now, this is the root of Yahudah. So when we look at Yahudah, we find that it's number 3063. It speaks to something that's celebrated or praised. And we see that it's from the root word Yadah, number 3034. Amen. You know, and so I want to focus in on not the praise aspect of Yahudah, you know, but the part of the definition that speaks to make confession, because to make confession is a more accurate translation in our actuality, you know. And, you know, a lot of times when we look at Yahudah, we look like, you know, the praise of Yah, you know, and even though that's not altogether inaccurate, our idea of praise makes it a little more inaccurate, you know, just because of our ideology centered around praise. Now, you know, to the Hebraic people, you know, this probably wouldn't have been a problem. You know, I'm pretty certain it wouldn't have been a problem. But for us, English-speaking people of 2021, you know, when you just say praise, you know, we have a different understanding of that, you know, in our day and time, you know, and so this is what I want to point out, and I believe, I'm convinced that it is imperative, okay, you know, and so what I want you to understand is that Yadah speaks to confession more so than it does to praise. You know, now this word is translated in a few different ways. You know, it also, which I forgot to put up there, but also can mean thanks. You know, so it can mean to make confession, to praise, or thanks. You know, but I'm here to tell you that the primary meaning of it is to confess. You know, and when you look in the lexicons, a lot of times, you know, the first definition, which is the primary definition, then you see like in lexicons or dictionaries, you'll see like number one and it has a definition, then it has number two and it has a definition, so on and so forth. You know, and so like number one is like its primary use, you know, and then you know number two and number three is the secondary, and so on and so forth, right? Okay, so the primary use of this word is to confess. You know, that's the primary meaning of it, which I want you to understand. Okay, and so I'm going to show some examples of where it's translated as confess in your KJV. Leviticus 5:5 says, "It shall be when ye shall be guilty in one of these things that he shall confess that he sinned in that thing." You know, and also Leviticus 16:21 says, "And Aaron shall lay both his hands upon the head of the live goat and confess over him all the iniquities of the children of Israel and all the transgressions and their sins, putting them upon the head of the goat, and shall send him away by the hand of a fit man into the wilderness." Amen. And now my first reader read Nehemiah 1:6-7, Psalms 32:5, Job 40:14, and Daniel chapter 9, verse 20-21, please.
Nehemiah 1:6, let thine ear now be attentive, and thine eyes open, that thou mayest hear the prayer of thy servant, which I pray before thee now, day and night for the children of Israel, thy servants, and confess the sins of the children of Israel, which have sinned against thee. Both I and my father's house have sinned. Nehemiah 1:7, we have dealt very corruptly against thee, and have not kept the commandments, nor the statutes, nor the judgments, which thou commandest thy servant Moshe. Psalm 32:5, I acknowledge my sin unto thee, and mine iniquity have I not hid. I said, I will confess my transgressions unto Yahudah, and thou forgavest the iniquity of my sin. Selah. Job 40:14, then will I confess unto thee that thine own right hand can save thee. Daniel 9:20, and whilst I was speaking and praying and confessing my sin and the sin of my people Israel, and presenting my supplication before Yahudah my Elohim for the holy mountain of my Elohim, yea, whilst I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation.
Hallelujah. Okay, so here it is. We see various uses of this word being translated, Yadah, being translated as confess. You know, yeah, my next reader read Nehemiah 9:1-3 and Daniel 9:4-6.
Now in the 20th and fourth day of this month, the children of Israel were assembled with fasting and with sackcloth and earth upon them. And the seed of Israel separated themselves from all strangers, and stood and confessed their sins and the iniquities of their fathers. And they stood up in their place and read the book of the law of Yahudah, their Elohim, 1/4 part of the day. And another 4th part they confessed and worshiped Yahudah, their Elohim. Daniel 9:4-6. And I prayed upon Yahudah, my Elohim, and made my confession, and said, O Adonai, the great and the dreadful Elohim, keeping the covenant have sinned and have committed iniquity and have done wickedly and have rebelled, even by departing from thy precepts and from thy judgments. Neither have we hearkened unto thy servants, the prophets, which spake in the name to our kings, our prince, and our fathers, and to all the people of the land.
Hallelujah. Okay, so again, we see it translated as confessed, and you see it spoken of as confessing sins and confessing, things concerning Yah, and it can speak to like confession in a bad way, or it can speak to like confession in a good way. Like I can confess that God is good, amen, and that His mercy endures forever.
Hallelujah.
Great confession, right? Well, let's consider Proverbs 28:13, where it also uses Yadah. It says, "He who covers his sins will not prosper, but whoever confesses and forsakes them will have mercy."
Hallelujah.
Now, not only is this a great proverb, but it's a very, very weighty one because it deals with a very heavy or important principle, and that is confession is associated with Yah's mercy. Even Yahshua taught that you must confess your sins, in order that you might be saved. Confession is a very important thing. Why? Because it's associated with Yah's mercy. Now you have some people who, even in the face of truth, won't acknowledge their wrongs. They'll hold on to their lie. They won't confess the error of their ways. And some is very become very obstinate in such a thing. Now, do you think they will receive God's mercy? This is really, really important because once you make the connection with Yadah and and meaning confession, then you begin to see scripture passages about confessing all over the place. Because this word Yadah, it occurs well over 100 times, and so each time it deals with some type of connection to confessing, and that's what I want you to understand, because I think that's something that's been lost in translation. And a lot of times we see this word and we don't realize that aspect to it. Now there's a couple passages that speak about confessing His name, even, and we should confess His name, because it's in conjunction to confessing and receiving God's mercy. So let's take a look at this. In 1 Kings 8:33-36, it says, "When the people of Israel be smitten down before the enemy, because they have sinned against thee, and shall turn again to thee, and confess thy name, and pray and make supplication unto thee in this house." Now this is, of course, King Solomon. Thank you. This is King Solomon after he had built the temple, and he's saying this beautiful, beautiful prayer, which is pretty much the whole of chapter 8. Beautiful prayer to dedicate the temple. Okay, And he's saying, when thy people Israel, he's speaking to Yah, when thy people Israel be smitten down before the enemy because they have sinned. See, if they're smitten down before their enemy, it can only be one reason if they're Yah's people, because Yah trumps everything and everyone. Amen. So if his people are smitten down, it can only be for one reason, because they have sinned against him and shall turn again. Now he says, and if they should turn again to thee, Father, and confess thy name and pray and make supplication unto thee in this house, then hear thou in heaven and forgive the sins of thy people Israel, and bring them again unto the land which thou gavest unto their fathers. Can you see the confession in conjunction or relation to his mercy? You know, he's saying, you know, if they confess thy name, then hear thou in heaven and forgive the sin of thy people. Mercy, give them mercy. Verse 35. Then heaven is when heaven is shut up and there is no rain because they have sinned against thee, if they pray toward this place and confess thy name and turn from their sin when thou afflictest them, then hear thou in heaven and forgive the sin of thy servants and of thy people Israel, that thou teach them the good way wherein they should walk and give rain upon thy land, which thou hast given to thy people for an inheritance. Again, we see the confessing in conjunction with the mercy. You know, I confess thy name. If I see that heaven is shut up, you know, I know that there's a problem. You know, and if I confess thy name, you know, when thou afflictest them, then hear thou in heaven. You know, so after the confession, you know, then comes the opportunity for mercy. You know, without confession, there may not be any mercy. Say loud. Now, to confess Yah's name is to acknowledge that he is the reason for one's affliction. See, and this is what's being depicted here in this passage, you know, as well as it continues, and you see it even more, you know, it continues to show this pattern, you know, even in verses 37 to 39, I believe it is, you know, which even speaks about sickness and disease and plagues, you know. Yeah, maybe Yah wants you to confess that he might bestow his mercy upon you. You know, so to confess Yah's name is to acknowledge that he's the reason for one's affliction. And this is what's being carried across in these passages. You know, when thy people Israel be smitten down before the enemy, you know, because they have sinned against thee. You know, so what Solomon is doing is acknowledging that the reason that they're smitten down before their enemy is because they sinned against Yah. No other reason. Amen. You know, and the same thing in verse 35, when the heaven is shut up and there is no rain, the only reason that can happen is because Yah is afflicting them for whatever reason. So if they're being afflicted, he's telling them, you know, hey, if they've been afflicted and they confess thy name, that is, they point to you as the reason for their affliction, you know, then he's saying, then have mercy. But unfortunately, in today's time, no one attributes anything to Yah anymore. Not even his own people. They simply refuse to confess Yah's name. That is, they refuse to acknowledge Yah's sovereignty over their lives, situations, and circumstances. Nevertheless, this is the primary reason why everything is the way it is in the world. This is the primary reason why things are the way that it is in the world. Why do you say this, Pastor Obadiah? Simply because of Psalms 50 and other passages like it. Psalms 50, 10 through 12 says, for every beast of the forest is mine. This is Yah speaking. For every beast of the forest is mine, and the cattle upon 1,000 hills. I know all the fowls of the mountains, and the wild beasts of the field are mine. If I were hungry, I would not tell thee, for the world is mine, and the fullness thereof. So when you understand that everything is Yah's, and that he is sovereign, if there's calamity in your life, if there's affliction in your life, then it's because he has allowed it. Now the question becomes, why, Yah? Why have you allowed it? And when you confess his name, when you acknowledge that the reason he's allowing it, that the reason that this affliction is in your life or on your land or whatever the case may be, when you acknowledge that it's because of Yah, then that does a couple things. One, it opens you up for his mercy. But two, it causes you to look, to search out the reason why. To look in retrospect and see, did I slip up? Did I mess up somewhere? And if the answer is yes, then you owe an offering. I made a mistake and did that. Let me go before Yah, confess my sin, present an offering that it may be covered, so that I might come back in good graces, into good graces with my elder. Amen. See how that works? So I want you to see how that works, because that is huge. Because a lot of people, they don't attribute things that happen in their lives to Yah. Now, back in the day, this was very clear. Back in the day, it was clear to see that people attributed everything to Yah, and they knew, like, if I'm sick, it rabbit trails back to Yah. They knew if there was an earthquake, they said it was because of Yah. If there was a storm, like in the book of Samuel, 1 Samuel, Yah sends a storm because they asked for a king. The people all understood why that storm came. But today we just think it's Mother Nature. Say that. It's not Mother Nature, it's Father Yahudah. When the flood came, they acknowledged that it was of Yah. When a tempest came, they acknowledged it was of Yah. When hell came, they acknowledged it was of Yah. But today we just call that Mother Nature. People get sick today, they just say, oh, it's this is that is the other thing. But the real root of the issue is you out of sync with Yah somewhere. Now you may be in sync with Yah, but your country may be out of sync with Yah. Look at Israel when they were in Mizraim. When they were in sync with Yah, Yah was plaguing the country, but he kept them safe. But they had to acknowledge, they had to confess him. And if they didn't, then they would have been in, receiving the same thing as everyone else. And that's what's important to understand. That's what's important to get out of this. You have to confess Yah's name. Even like the slide said, 365 days, you have to confess Yah's name. That is, you have to give him credit for the things that's happening in your life, whether they be good or whether they be bad. You say, oh man, I got this bonus, on the job. Hallelujah. Well, you should say hallelujah, praise you, Yah.
Hallelujah.
But a lot of times people give the praise to, Ford or Chrysler or whomever their employer is. You just have to understand the mechanics of these things. When you're a child of Yah, then everything that's good that happens to you is attributed to Yah. Even when you're not a child of Yah, there's something good happening to you, whether you know it or not, even in your unbelief, it's still Yah. And if something bad happens to you, it's still Yah. But this is why he put us, the believers in the world, that we can help people, help point them to the reasons why things are the way they are in the world. Because we are supposed to understand that the world is Yah's and that he is sovereign. Amen. And so very important concept I want you to understand. Now, there's approximately 7 words that's used for praise. And one of the things that Yadah is translated as is praise, and it's translated as praise quite a number of times, and like these are the 7 words translated as praise. You have Todah, Baruch, or Barak, Halal, Zamar, Tehillah, Shabbat, and we see here Yadah raise and extend the hands unashamedly unto Elohim, but the primary word that's used for praise is halal, and that's the primary root for praise where we get the word hallelujah. All right, and so it is a very beautiful word. It means to be clear, to shine, to flash forth light, to boast. I love this definition of halal. It means to make foolish. Halal literally means to make yourself look like a fool for Yah. That is the highest praise. See, a lot of people think that when they say hallelujah, that they just gave Yah the highest praise. No, you did not. All you said was a word. Praise is an action. Amen. I want you to understand that praise is an action. It's not just a word. When you make yourself look like a fool because you jumping up and down and you screaming and you hollering and you yelling out Yah's name, and, in the midst of others, that's halal. That's halal. Like when David was bringing the Ark of the Covenant into the tabernacle that he erected for him. Woo! And he danced up out his clothes. That's halal. And he went back, and his wife, I think it was Michal, his wife Michal, the son of Saul, was like, you're out there making a fool of yourself. All the handmaids watching. You gotta do more than that. Y'all done made me king in place of your father, who was trying to kill me, by the way. But point being, David didn't have a problem making himself look foolish in front of Yah's people. He didn't have a problem, with himself looking foolish in front of the world. As long as he was looking foolish for Yah's sake. Why? Because it brings glory to Yah. Woo! There's a lot in that. But we're not talking about a lot. We're talking about Yadah, right? But I just wanted to point out that halal is the primary word for praise, and I want to show you some passages whereby Yadah and halal are used together, and so the first one is like Psalms 109, 30 and 31. It says, I will greatly Yadah Yahudah with my mouth. Yea, I will praise him among the multitude. Now, I want you to think about what I said, that praise isn't just a word, it's an action. Amen. Now, but Yadah speaks more to words. It's an action too, but it definitely speaks to confession. So confession, you confess with words. Amen. He said, I will greatly Yadah, I will greatly confess Yahuwah with my mouth. Yea, I will make myself look like a fool for him among the multitude. Now, you see when you put the understanding in there, how it reads different, how it's much clearer, as to what's being communicated. It says, for he shall stand at the right hand of the poor to save him from those that condemn his soul. Isn't that a reason to allow him? Isn't that a reason to Yadah him, to confess him? That he might stand at the right hand of the poor to save him from those that condemn his soul. Also, let us consider Tehillim or Psalms 111:1. It says, halal ye Yahuwah. Then it says, I will Yadah Yahuwah with my whole heart in the assembly of the upright and in the congregation. So it's talking about halal, and I would make myself look like a fool for Yahuwah. Then it's speaking about, I will confess Yahuwah with my whole heart in the assembly of the upright and in the congregation. See how, you have this audience, in both cases, so, you can make yourself look like a fool at home by yourself too, but you're not going to really look like a fool to nobody if you're alone, except for to yourself, so, to really get your halal on, you need an audience. Amen. Let's consider 2 Chronicles 20:19-21. It says, and the Levites of the children of the Kohathites and of the children of the Korites stood up to praise Yahuwah, that is to halal Yahuwah Elohim of Israel with a loud voice on high. And when he had consulted with the people, he appointed singers unto Yahuwah that should halal the beauty of holiness as they went out before the army, and to say Yadah or confession to Yahuwah, for his mercy endure forever. And so, and then we have another 107:31-32. It says, oh, that men would confess Yahuwah for his goodness. When something good happened to you, do you confess Yahuwah? Do you let other people around you know that the reason that this good thing is happening to me is because I serve Yahuwah Elohim, the king of the universe and the world and the land and the sea? This is why this is happening to me, because I serve him, not because of me. It's because he's bestowing this upon me for my servitude to him. Amen. So praise him for his goodness. Yadah him, confess him, for his goodness and his wonderful works to the children of men. So you can see, even the way that I read, that it speaks to something more than just, praise in and of itself. It's talking about, some words here. That men would, Yadah will confess Yahuwah for his goodness and for his wonderful works. So you tell people about the goodness that he's done in your life, but you also tell them about the wonderful works that he's done in times past, even the ones we read about in scripture. Amen. Yeah, the same Yahuwah that actually split the Red Sea, parted the Red Sea and walked his children of Israel through it. The same Yahuwah that actually flooded the world, the same Yahuwah that brought water from a rock, the same Yahuwah that actually rained down manna from heaven. That's the very same Yahuwah that's working in my life. Hallelujah. That's the same Yahuwah that I serve. And it's because of him that I got this new car. It's because of him I got this raise. It's because of him that I'm walking with a smile on my face. Amen. Yadah, confess Yahuwah. How is his name gonna go throughout the earth if no one confesses it? Amen. How is his praise, his halal gonna spread if no one's confessing, see, why they're allowing. Yeah, I'm making myself look like a fool, and I know why I'm doing it. But when I confess to others why I do it, that helps the others. If I just do it, yeah, that may help me. But wouldn't you want to help others? That's part of our call, amen. 107:32. Let them exalt him also in the congregation of the people and allow him in the assembly of the elders. Will anybody get in the assembly of the elders? Will anybody get in the midst of their authority figures? See, because that's what the elders were. They were the authority figures in the people's lives, right? So will anybody get in the midst of their authority figures and halal Yah? Would you make yourself look like a fool in front of your boss? Let me put it in secular terms. Would you make yourself look like a fool in front of your family that's not serving Yah? Would you make yourself look like a fool in front of your friends that's not serving Yah? See, because that's halal. That's the highest praise. Not when you over in the church corner, sitting in the seat to yourself, speaking under your breath. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Thank you. No, there's nothing foolish about that. There's nothing clamorous about that. There's no show. It's not clear. I don't know what you just said. You're way across the room from me. Make it clear. Make it clamorous. Make yourself a fool for him. So Yadah can't speak the praise, but it's the type of praise that comes from confession of who Yah is and what he does. See, that's the type of praise it is. So, when we talk about Yadah, when it says like in 107:31, oh, that men would praise him. It's talking about praising him, it's bragging on him and things of this nature, but it's a praise that come out of confession. I got this new car because y'all blessed me with it. Yep, y'all done that for me. Why? Oh, because I've been serving him. I've been serving him, and I've been worshiping him. I've been doing this, I've been doing that and the other that he asked me to do. And that's why I recovered from that sickness. Yeah, I just want you to know. Yeah, no, doctor didn't have nothing to do with it. It was Yah. It was Yah. Yahudah Elohim. Yeah, the one you read about in the scriptures, the one that parted the Red Sea. Yeah, yep, same one. He working in my life. He working in my life. The one that the Ancient of Days. Yeah, he not old and played out. No, he relevant right now today. He's in here now. He's working in my life. I'm telling you, he's the one that brought me through. When are you gonna stop making confession? See, praise. The type of praise that comes from Yadah comes from confession. And it speaks about who Yah is and what he does. Amen. So even though Yadah can't speak the praise, but it's that type of praise. It's the type of praise that come out of confession. For confession of who he is and what he does and how he acts. Now, lastly, Yadah is translated as thanks. But I've searched the scriptures and no thanks. What do you mean, God? Just what I said, no thanks. There's no Hebrew verb that means only to thank within the Old Testament scriptures. Hence, you won't find not one instance of thanks amongst men. You will not find nowhere in the Old Testament where someone's coming up and saying, "Oh, thank you for for these victuals. Thank you for this provision. I thank you for lending me your mule." No, you don't find that in scripture. There's not one instance of thanks amongst men. That said, the idea of thanks as we know it, as we understand it, is included in praise to Yahuwah. It is a way of praising. That is by lifting one's hands, and giving honor and glory unto Yah for what he has done or what he's doing, or to his goodness and things of that effect. It comes out of confession. It's a part of that confession, that praise that we just got finished talking about, but thanks in the way that we understand it, like, you just thank someone for something, no, it's not like that. You can't separate it, from the confession. You can't separate it, from confessing what he does and what he's doing and what he's done. Let's take a look at some of the places where this is utilized. And actually, where they, well, let's start with First Chronicles 16, 40 and 41. It says to offer burnt offerings unto Yahuwah upon the altar of the burnt offering, continually morning and evening, and to do according to all that is written in the Torah of Yahuwah, which he commanded Israel, and with them Haman and Yeduthun, and the rest that were chosen were expressed by name to give thanks to Yahuwah because his mercy endure forever. Now, we already seen that whenever we see Yah's mercy, it's usually connected to what? Confession. Absolutely. So, even though Yadah is being translated as thanks, it's the type of thanks that is speaking to, like the type of thanks we have in our culture. It's not found in scripture. So it's more so speaking to confession, who were expressed by name to give confession to Yahuwah. Why? Because his mercy endure forever. The confession is usually connected to the mercy. No confession, no mercy. Have mercy, usually have confession. First Chronicles 23:30, and to stand every morning to thank and praise Yahuwah, and likewise at even. Now, this word praise is halal, so to stand every morning to confess and halal Yahuwah, and likewise at even. Now, when you apply this understanding, to of Yadah in this instance, you see something totally different as that can greatly alter your morning routine. Amen. When you see that to stand every morning to confess and halal, and you truly understand what it means to Yadah or to confess, and what it truly means to halal Yahuwah, and likewise at even, then you can see the sacrifice that it takes to do it. See, we're not talking about someone going over and saying, praise you, Yah. Bless your holy name. I praise you. I give you thanks. Amen. And then run back to what they're doing. You understand? This is not what's being communicated. Now this is often what's done, but it's not what's being communicated. See, and the reason, that this is what's done is because there's a communication gap. Because these imperative semantics haven't been brought to light. And so that's why I wanted to pull out Yadah, so that like, and this is speaking to like what they did every morning. This is what the priests would do. They would every morning they would offer the sacrifices, and this would be one of the sacrifices. Amen. Every morning they would Yadah, they will confess Yahuwah. They will confess how Yahuwah is working in their life, or they will confess what they've done wrong, to Yahuwah, that they might receive his mercy. So they either confessing how, of his goodness and how he's interacting in their life, or they're confessing how they messed up and how they need his mercy, so that they can come back in good standing with him, and they're praising him, they're allowing him, they're causing themselves to act a fool for him. When you begin to see that picture, you begin to see a whole different meaning to morning sacrifice. And you have to understand that King David implemented this. He implemented the praise, with the worship of Yah at his temple, at his tabernacle, and then it was extended to his temple. And we read how in the last days that Yah will raise up, will re-raise up the tabernacle of David. What do you think he's talking about? He's talking about bringing back that confession and that halal, that morning sacrifice where they're always before Yah, confessing him and halalling him. Yeah. See, these folks had a ministry centered around this. Amen. They wasn't just doing quick wham bam thank you ma'am type stuff. I just want to point that out. Also let's consider Tehillim 35:18. It says, I will give Yadah in the great congregation. I will praise thee. I will halal thee among much people. See how, again, the halal is associated with an audience. Like I said, you can make yourself look like a fool even to yourself, alone, and that's a great praise. But when you do it amongst others, that's the highest praise. That's the highest praise. Amen. And that's what, folks got to understand, is, just because you utter a word a few times, Yah's not impressed with that. He's not impressed with that. If you look at the character of the saints in Scripture, you see a whole different type of individual than what you see with religious folks today. Amen. I mean, really take a look and consider. And that's because something's off. And what is off is the meanings of these terms, is not coming forth in the translation, either because it's been badly defined or badly translated, but the truth is there. That's no excuse. The truth is there. And Yah, those whom Yah has called to teach his word has got to dig in and pull this stuff out, has to take it from the dark and bring it into the light. Amen. Let us consider Tehillim 106, 1 and 2. It says, halal ye Yahudah. See, now whenever you read about halal, you should get a whole different picture. Halal ye Yahudah, you should start getting tired just right after you say that. You understand? You should start feeling a little embarrassed right after you say that. Why? Because it means to make yourself look like a fool. So you should start feeling a little embarrassed or a little, taken back even in saying that. I got to make myself look like a fool again, yeah. Yes, yeah, again, Well, all right, then, we about to get at it, And then it goes on to say, oh, give Yadah unto Yahudah. Confession to Yahudah. Confess Yahudah. Confess his name. And then, again, we see connected to the Yadah. Says, for he is good and his mercy endure forever. You see, again, the mercy is connected with the confession. See, and this is a grave error that folks have done in not understanding Yadah, because now it separates it from the mercy. And so now you think you can just say, oh, thank you, Yah. Thank you for, I'm gonna call those things that aren't so they as they were. Thank you for my healing. Thank you for my house. The stuff that I don't even have yet. Thank you, Yah. No, it's not quite what he means. It's not quite what he means. He wants you to confess him. He wants you to acknowledge that the reason you don't have those things is because of him and what you need to do in order to receive those blessings. Amen.
Amen.
And it's not naming and claiming. Let me give you a hint. It's not naming and claiming. It's not walk around it 3 times and put your hand on it and say it's mine. No, that's witchcraft. It's making confession. Yeah, I know my righteousness is as filthy rags. I know I slipped up last week and I said this, I've done that, but here I am, yeah. I'm bringing you an offering, Father. I pray it's pleasing to your sight. I'm gonna give you an offering. I'm gonna allow you today. I'm gonna allow you amongst the saints today. I'm gonna allow you amongst the world today. I'm gonna allow you on the job today. I'm gonna allow you in the supermarket today. Come on, somebody. You gotta allow him. That's the highest praise. If you want to get his attention, it's gonna take more than just some lip service. But even that scripture say, their lips are near you, but their hearts are far from you. I paraphrase that. I think I jacked it, but you get the point. The principle is the same. He's not impressed with the lip service. He like actions. Don't tell me hallelujah. Show me hallelujah. That's what he wants. And confess him. Confess him. People should get tired of y'all coming out your mouth. Because you should be confessing him. Every time, man, how you get that? Oh, you ain't know? Yeah, I gave it to me. Oh, that's a nice bike. Yeah, God bless me with it. That's why his name on it. You got to get Yadah praise. You know what I'm saying? You have to confess him in everything that you do. And this is how this people talk about building a relationship with him. This is how you build a relationship with him. Because when he see you all about him, then he gonna make himself be about you. That just makes sense, right? He tell you clearly in scripture, I love the ones who love me. You hate me, I'm gonna hate you. That's word. So I want you to understand that. So it's talking about in 106:1, it's talking about confessing him, and it's talking about for he is good. Yeah, why wouldn't you tell somebody about how good he's been in your life? Why wouldn't you tell somebody, about his goodness, especially when they in a low point? Maybe you should try my help, because yours don't seem to be working. Yeah, you pray and worship Jesus, but you always sad and down. I worship Yahudah and the Son Yahushua. I know they sound the same in principle, but they look different. Maybe you should try worshiping the way I worship. Not that I don't go through stuff, but I go through it with a smile. Because I know how to get out of it. But how you get out of the Pastor Obadiah? I give an offering. I make myself look like a fool for y'all. I get his attention. He not gonna miss me. He look down here and he see all these saints, and they all holier than thou. He look and see this one jumping around like a jumping bean with his hands throwing up, and he's yelling out his name and screaming at the top of his lungs. Who do you think gonna stand out? That's my boy. That's my boy right there. Yeah, that's how you get his attention. What you need, son? I just need a little mercy. I messed up. Forgive me. I did this, that, and the other, and I'm giving you an offering, and I'm even going to add a fifth on to it. All right, son. Let me give you some mercy. Because my mercy endures forever. You know, so I want you to understand Yadah, you know, does speak the praise and you know, and there's an action that comes with Yadah. There's a look to Yadah, you know, because it also means the extending of our arms. You know, so when you do this, it's an extending of our arms and fingers towards Elohim. You are Yadaing him. You know, partially. This is the outer look. You know, but you should also be making confession, speaking of his goodness, or speaking of how you messed up and how you need his help, his assistance. You know, so will you Yadah him today? I pray that everyone can now see that the best way to define Yadah is not by praise nor by thanks, but rather by confession. For there's a type of praise that comes from confession, but confession doesn't come from praise. You understand? See, just because you praise and you can be throwing your hands out, you know, and extending your hands and your fingers, but that's not going to confess anything. You know, you can be doing this, and you can even be saying, you know, oh yeah, it's good, yeah, it's this, yeah, it's that, you know. But when you do that, you are also confessing, are you not? See, praise can come from confession, but confession can't come from praise. You know, because as soon as you try to praise him with words, you're actually confessing, but not the other way around. You know, if someone see you just acknowledging, you know, just throwing your hands up and everything, they wouldn't know that you confessing. And neither will y'all. You gotta open your mouth. You know, now this is great importance when trying to understand the name Yahudah, which occurs many times in scripture and is quite significant in understanding the spiritual aspect of scripture. You know, so, you know, even as we read in Genesis 29:35, you know, so what Leah was saying here is that she would praise Yahuwah by confessing him, you know, by acknowledging, that is, by confessing to others how he has blessed her with 4 sons, acknowledging that, hey, you know, I'm confessing Yahuwah is the reason that I have these 4 sons. It's because of him. He's blessed. You know, he opened my womb because she acknowledged that it was due to Yah. You know, so I want you to, when you see Yahudah in scripture, I want you to think about confession and not just praise, because praise come out of confession. You know, hence the root word speaks to confess. You know, I want you to think about confession, about confessing Yah, because the confession is linked to the mercy. And this could be a big reason why a lot of people not receiving the mercy today, even because they're not confessing. That's all I have for you today. Pray with the blessing.
Hallelujah.